I have the pleasure to moderate the alpha panel of the day, which is going to be about the intersection of AI, Web3, and multi-chain. So please, a warm welcome for our guests, Richard, Raheel, and Jasper. All right, so why do we even talk about the topic? Maybe a few words of framing, and I'm going to hand it over to you guys to have a quick intro on what you're doing, why you're in this space. Ultimately, the topic is super important for us because, I mean, I don't tell you something new by saying like AI is going to be at the heart of everything, of every consumer experience, of every business, every corporate, every government. Our mission is also that ultimately Web3 will also be at the heart of everything, and ensuring that it works in conjunction with AI and ensure that, you know, the prosperity path of both society and AI models are aligned. Having said that, I'm extremely happy that I have a very unique panel with me today of AI and Web3 experts from very different angles. So Richard, quick introduction from your end, please.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Richard. My background's in machine learning. So I worked as a machine learning engineer in big tech, always in generative AI. And then I ended up quitting my job to explore how to decentralize AI. And we're using crypto as a means of doing that. So we know how to run AI apps on top of decentralized infrastructure. And now everyone's talking about agents. So we're figuring out how to run agents on top of decentralized infrastructure.
Raheel.
Yeah, hi, I'm Raheel. I'm a founder. We have a project we run on the IC. The project's called DecideAI. We're a full stack AI solution focusing on model alignment via RLHF or DPO. And yeah, we just see the future of decentralized AI becoming bigger and bigger, and we're really excited to be in the space.
Hey guys, my name is Jasper de Mare. I'm the head of research at Outlier Ventures. For those who are not familiar with us, we're a Web3 accelerator. We've been looking at the intersection between AI and blockchain for quite a while. I think we started in 2017. So yeah, it's very exciting to see an inflection point in the space, loads of excitement. So yeah, it's very good to be here.
Great, and Jasper, let's maybe stay with you because indeed Outlier has been very, very early at crafting this thesis that we need the intersection of AI and blockchain at that point in time. So in your point of view, now also looking back at the history, has that theory of the merge of these two technologies prevailed? Has it gotten even more urgent to have it? Why do we need AI and blockchain?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. Like initially, we called it the convergence thesis, and it was this idea where you have two technology stacks which are fundamentally underpinned by data. So blockchain is the storage of data, AI is the value extraction of data. And by their proximity in the value chain, you would have a lot of natural synergies. I think the real kicker was when like Gen AI in general fell into the hands of the masses. There was an appreciation of the functionality, but all of a sudden there was also a realization around the sense of urgency to democratize these models, grant access, enhance privacy. So a lot of concerns where suddenly we're looking at a potential solution, and then blockchain became a very natural fit. And I think that's really what happened, sparked a lot of excitement in the space. And I think that's why we are here today with such a large crowd looking at what's happening today. So yeah, it's great to see it pan out. We were fortunate enough to work with a group of like very visionary founders who laid out the fundamental principles of what we're working with today. But yeah, half a decade later, and yeah, it's looking good.
Yeah, indeed. Congrats to that foresight. So, Richard, if I want to continue with you, we just talked that you actually were involved back then with the ocean ecosystem and so on. So data and AI have been on your mind for quite a while. How do you see the urge of bringing both together?
Yeah, sure. My project was born in Ocean DAO, 2020, I think. And yeah, it was just inspired by a lot of the ideas from, you know, Trent and Ocean and also like Fetch AI. I came into the space as a machine learning engineer. I tried to find where all the AI stuff was happening in crypto, and there was only like a handful of projects. It was super early, so just started working there. But so why did I realize that decentralizing AI was important? I kind of realized from working as a machine learning engineer how powerful this technology was and the impact it was going to have. So, you know, it could read your emotions from video, for example. I worked for a tech company that did some work on surveillance and that sort of thing. So that was kind of scary. So basically, I realized how powerful this technology was going to be, and thought that it was important to put it in the hands of as many people as possible to decentralize that power.
Great, and I'll come back to that in a second. But before that, Raheel, what's your view on that?
So I believe that with the growing usage of centralized AI, we're seeing also the growing potential of misuse. And with decentralized AI, I see it as like a counterbalancing force that improves privacy, transparency, and resilience, and can also introduce better cost-effective mechanisms when it comes to like training. We were trying to train a model in-house, and we were looking at different product services like SuperAnnotate, Cohere, even Scale AI, and they don't even talk to you unless you're paying around $50K to $100K to do that training. So we said, why don't we just utilize the blockchain and do this all on chain using RLHF, which is reinforcement learning via human feedback, at a more cost-effective measure, and that's kind of what we've been focusing on now going forward.
Great, and Raheel, you and Richard as well, you guys decided that the Internet Computer Protocol is the infrastructure for you to actually explore building that intersection. Can you share a few words, maybe Raheel first and then Richard, like why did you make that choice?
I guess several reasons. One, so the Internet Computer just has so much different utilities that are useful and beneficial when creating decentralized AI, from tokenized incentive mechanisms, data collection, transparency, and then also it's actually quite powerful. Recently, we've launched 2 different on-chain models, completely on-chain. They are slimmed down versions of GPT-2, but one is an abusive language detector. You can toss in a string of words and it'll tell you how abusive that is. And then the other one is GPT-2, but with a lower token limit. And with the upcoming new changes with the SIMD architecture, we'll be able to increase that token limit. So we're actually able to do some inference on chain, which you couldn't do on other blockchains.
Interesting. Richard, what's your take?
Yeah, so as a machine learning engineer, we do a lot of like ML ops, which is basically deployment of models in a scalable way. With language models, we have this new thing called like LM ops, which is how to deploy language model apps in a scalable way. And a really common architecture pattern is to have basically like a task queue or a message broker that different workers pull from, and it all happens asynchronously. This is a common component of a lot of multi-agent systems that we see. And we started thinking, how are we going to decentralize this message broker or this task queue? And we started looking at, different solutions, and ICP was one of the ones that fit. So that's what we're exploring using Internet Computer for, is basically using it for, asynchronous processing using like LLM agents.
Great. And Jasper, obviously from the outlier venture point of view, you have been looking at a lot of infrastructures across different ecosystems. What's your take on why the IC is a good infrastructure to build AI on? Is there actually any comparative that you would see?
Yeah, I think on the latter part of your question, it is quite unique. If you just look generally across the value proposition, how it's built, what's currently serving, there's none other. That's basically it. We went through a journey, like we obviously follow founders very closely, and as there was more excitement, I would say like 12 to 18 months ago about the space, I think a lot of builders were trying to figure out, like from an infrastructure layer, which type of blockchain infra do we need? And the initial iteration was where we saw people very quickly going to EVM, like EVM compatible chains, because that's what people know, especially people coming from the blockchain angle, because that's also something, right? Like founders generally either come from the AI angle or from the blockchain angle. You have co-founders who bring both, but you have very few people with like a core understanding, like from the get-go. So we had a lot of people exploring EVMs and then ultimately very quickly bouncing against the limitations from a tech perspective, because the reality is like a lot of these chains were never truly built to host these systems. So ICP is a very elegant solution to do this. I think the functionality it unlocks is definitely like built for to host AI in whatever shape or form it might come. So that's very exciting. I think a lot of people have already like it's a ready system. It's open source. People can leverage the existing, and they can just build and straightly like directly jump into the application side of things. So I think it's very valuable within the space.
Excellent. Great. And then if we take it a bit up a notch in terms of visionary, what is going to happen in the future, we were just backstage discussing that idea of an AI to AI economy, right? Can you describe from your point of view, I mean, what is an AI to AI economy? Why is it important? And we are at the Chain Fusion Day today. Why is multi-chain and Chain Fusion then actually important for AI? Richard, maybe we start with you.
Yeah, sure. So I don't know if I quoted these earlier, but it's something like 50% of the internet, like Web 2, is bots today. If you look at financial markets, I think it's closer to like 70 or 80% of the participants are bots. And you know, we think that it's going to be 99% to 99.9% of Web3 is bots. So we've been working to build synthetic users for prediction markets on Gnosis. Prediction markets are they don't get that widely used. They don't have product market fit yet, but the outcome of them is really useful. So like one of the things that we've been working on is LLM agents that take a prediction market question like, will Trump win the election? They do some research, they Google, they aggregate the information, maybe summarize it, and then make a prediction. So that's an example of a product where a lot of the users are going to be synthetic and LLM agents. And I think there's a lot of blockchains that probably want to onboard more users, whether they're synthetic or not. So yeah, I think over time we're going to see more and more protocols where the vast majority of users are agents, and of course they're going to have an economy amongst them. So that's the first part of your question.
Okay, great. Raheel.
Yeah, I think like the North Star for decentralized AI is we're going to have AI in government infrastructure, in healthcare, law, transportation, and we'll need to have transparent models that these groups can actually trust in order for us to like rely on them. And these models will be like AI to AI agents that are talking to each other. But at first we need to have transparency in how these models are created, where the data was collected, et cetera. And so when we think of decentralized AI, it's not just the model and it's not just the inference. It's actually like the whole pipeline. It's the data collection piece when you're training the data. It's the fine-tuning piece in the middle. It's the reinforcement learning and the humans that are kind of adjusting it to fit the alignment for the particular use case. It's all those things need to be decentralized and then also verified and made sure they're secure. And so I think what's going to happen as we go into the future is pieces of decentralized AI will start to be adopted by different industries. I think probably like startups and enterprise might just start using decentralized AI for training pieces so that they don't have to put their data on AWS or in OpenAI servers or what have you, and then they get a transparent model in the end. So I think it's going to be pieces are going to be starting to be decentralized, and then over time, those different industries like the government will be able to utilize them.
Yeah, I think if you just look at it very like from a fundamental level, the importance of multi-chain capabilities when it comes to AI is just very obvious, because as was mentioned before, we have billions of humans today, we'll have trillions of AI agents, we'll have multiple across different industries, different places. If you look at what's currently happening within blockchain, I think we're going very much to a multi-chain reality, like that's the consensus at this point. And maybe at a further stage, we might go into like a very deep app chain type of reality as well. So what it ultimately boils down to is you have loads of different data points which are dispersed across different types of infrastructure, right? And obviously, like just simply thinking is AI models are powered by data. Ultimately, the data and the quality and the quantity of that defines the ultimate output. Might it be an action? Might it be information? Whatever that is. So ultimately, it's about unlocking as much data as possible, aggregating everything together, having the ability to interact with that, because ultimately, like, your blockchain is your fundamental layer on which your AI sits. So multi-chain capabilities is going to be a core principle of all of this. I don't see a reality where you would have very limited multi-chain capabilities and AI would thrive. I don't think that's even a possibility.
Okay. Any other take, Richard, Raheel, on the multi-chain aspect that you want to share?
Yeah, I was thinking there's like there's two kind of reasons that multi-chain is important. I think one is at like the infrastructure layer to run massive AI systems. We just need a lot of different components to do that. I already mentioned like the task queue or the message broker, which is a part of AI systems. And the requirements for that might be different to other components that you need in the AI systems, like where you store your data. You even probably need like several different types of data storage, right? If you want to store, massive data sets, maybe you store them on IPFS, but IPFS is quite slow, so maybe sometimes we need to use faster storage, maybe like data availability layers, that sort of thing. So I think just the number of components that you need for multi-agent systems is like quite big, and each component has different requirements. So maybe different components will go on different chains. So that's at the infrastructure layer. And then also, at the application layer, we want these agents to be users of a lot of different chains, right? So for that, we need to have these integrations and these interfaces with different chains for AI agents to be users on all of these different chains.
Yeah, and just to add to that about the infrastructure piece, I think it's very valid and very important that different pieces of the decentralized AI are going to exist on different types of infrastructure. Like maybe the data will exist on Filecoin, or the computation will be on Render or Akash. But we also have to be considerate about like the security assumptions that these set chains have, because each part of the infrastructure needs to abide by some security guidelines so that the end model, the end result, is trustworthy. So I think maybe not regulation, but maybe like some kind of policy that these groups agree on terms of trust and security will be made so that we can make these connections easier and in a trustful way.
All right. I think maybe in addition, we have this other development of, this idea of a tokenized economy, right? Where most of the private assets at one point in time might be tokenized. Let's see if that actually plays out. But even if we enter this stage where a lot of value is tokenized, then we need AI to be capable of holding different assets that are tokenized, and they usually sit on different chains, right? Jasper, I recall back in the days, Outlier Ventures also had this idea of an AI DAO, right? Running its own business. Can you spend a few words on that? What was the vision there?
Yeah, I think it stood the test of time, like pretty good. Like I think it's still valid. On the element of RWA, I personally believe we're going into a decade of hyper-financialization driven by technological innovation. So it's this idea where we will have the ability to, through the existing infrastructure which we're currently building in P2P trading capabilities in the likes of DeFi, your OpenFi, we're creating the ability for people to really extract financial value from all the assets they hold, whether that's collateralizing, whether that's borrowing, lending. I think the complexity we'll see on like the financial side will exponentially increase to the point where there is an opportunity for people to squeeze additional yields out of the assets they hold, but the complexity and the financial knowledge required to do so will be very, very difficult for your average daily user, right? So agentic systems will play a very, very big role in that system. I think they will help people to navigate the financial complexity. Again, with RWAs, honestly, like, for example, my background is in sales and trading, traditional finance. Sometimes I'm looking at some of these products and barely understanding what they do. We need a higher form of automation in order to help people navigate. And that feeds into like the AI DAO as well, is automating a lot of the mundane activities, helping people optimize for quality of life so we can actually move on to what matters in life. We shouldn't be spending loads of time micromanaging specific financial assets. I think it also goes for utility tokens. If you look at DeepIn, for example, in order to use DeepIn, you need to navigate volatility of the utility token. You need to have sufficient utility tokens in balance. Currently, the UI UX is just very, very difficult for any like normal user to use any type of deep-in services. I think agents will play a very big role in that system as well, abstracting away the complexity, making it extremely digestible, taking away the mundane decision making based on like the individual's profile. So these are all interesting pockets where I think agentic systems will make a very, very big difference and are just going to be necessary in order for us to truly unlock the value there, I think.
100%. Let's maybe give it a spin for another segment of use cases, right? We had this hype about metaverse a year or 2 years ago, right? Some might say metaverse is dead, right? But maybe it's also rebranded to gaming now, finally, right? Merged into gaming part. How would you see decentralized AI and multi-chain benefit the gaming sector? Yep. And maybe, Jasper, you want to start, or?
I can take it away. I'll give you my 2 cents. On-chain gaming has been like thought about for a while now. Initially, we went from a very big focus on asset ownership, and now we're moving on to getting the state of the game on-chain. Obviously, there's like ZK requirements to create fog of war and all that stuff. But agents will play a pretty big role. We have worked with companies in the past where a super simple example is agents are used for hyper-tailorized quests experiences in games. So based on whatever interactions, pulls load of data and gives basically a unique quest line to every user. It becomes very replayable. The replay value of the games become very unique, very high. NPCs, I think, will become very big as well, and especially if token economies are activated in-game. Again, what I said earlier is navigating the complexity of these in-game assets. That's all going to matter, and I think I wouldn't be surprised if in the future, like, we still have the metaverse thesis live as well. If, again, like 99.99% of all in-game interactions will be machine-to-machine, human-to-machine, and it will be barely recognizable. Like large MMOs, all that stuff, you will need less and less human interaction to make it a fulfilling and meaningful world, I think, in-game.
Great. I can't wait for a Skyrim with proper NPCs. So what's your take, Richard?
Yeah, maybe I can come at it from the AI aspect. Just because we have LLMs now, we have better simulators of humans. So I'm sure everyone saw the Stanford Generative Agents paper, where they created this kind of like social virtual world where each agent was given a backstory, and then these agents interacted in the world, and we got all of this interesting emergent behavior that wasn't programmed into the game. Like, for example, the agents were given a goal of organizing a party, and then they would, like, get together in meetings to organize this party. All this stuff that wasn't programmed in. That was with 25 agents for 2 virtual world days, and it cost like thousands of dollars to run. But I'm thinking, what would social simulations at the scale of millions of agents or billions of agents look like, where each user is running their own agent, it's fed by some data about that user, and then these agents are interacting over the network. It could be social, it could be a game, it could be anything like that. I don't think we even know what sort of behavior would emerge in a system like that. So I think that's this new capability that's been unlocked by LLMs. And then how we tie that into Web3 gaming, I think, is a really interesting question.
100%. Raheel, any thoughts?
In terms of gaming, I think like possibly we'll have AIs that are detecting malicious behavior, like kind of eliminating some of your security team to catch hackers, cheaters, etc. Especially in the crypto world, where the tokens might have some value or something, you probably want something that's running 24/7 and can track behaviors that maybe a normal human can't, and learn from that. So I would say, yeah, something like that would probably be very beneficial for the metaverse or the gaming space.
Excellent. Okay. Then let's wrap it up with a final question. More like next year, 10th of July, we're going to meet again wherever EthCC is. We're going to have Chain Fusion Day. Maybe we even have the same panel. If you look back then, what has happened in the AI, decentralized AI space, or what you would hope that happened until then, that we can be proud of as an achievement. Raheel, you want to go first?
Oh, so in the future, so just a year from now?
Yeah, a year from now.
Oh, because be ambitious. We will have a better model running on chain than GPT-4. That's the ambition.
That would be awesome already, right? So
That would be awesome, right? I mean, we have GPT-2 running on chain on the IC, a slimmed down version that we have. If we can continue on performance and maybe we do leverage something off chain, maybe we can get a running GPT-2 model, leveraging another blockchain. So yeah, that would be my highly optimistic goal.
very cool, Richard.
Yeah, so I think one of the big unlocks that we saw recently in the AI space was through the LangChain library. And LangChain is basically middleware. It's the glue that brings together a lot of different technological pieces like LLMs and vector databases and tool use. And this kind of like enabled all of the innovation that we've seen recently. And in the decentralized AI space, we're starting to see a lot of the building blocks coming out, like technological, databases, decentralized compute protocols, decentralized marketplaces. So we have the building blocks, but we don't have the middleware, the glue between all of these things. So what I hope we see in the next year is more middleware that allows different technological building blocks being used together. And I think that's going to unlock a huge amount of capabilities in the decentralized AI space.
Cool. Jasper?
I think looking at the infrastructure first, I hope we make some meaningful strides in moving away, overcoming some of the hurdles which we're currently seeing. Hopefully also a little bit around privacy with cost curves of, for example, ZK coming down, the implementation becoming easier. If I look on the application side, I hope we make, if you look at what's currently happening, there's a lot of emphasis on financial markets. The data is real time, the data is widely available, and we're pushing some of these agentic systems in application functions, right? So I would love to see a more meaningful role of agentic systems and very simple interactions when it comes to financial markets, because I think that would be like a POC for a lot of people. I think if you can add dollar-denominated value to any user, it's extremely attractive, and it's a quantified metric which a lot of people can appreciate, that you actually bring value and as an agent. So I really hope we're making a lot of progress there. We're seeing some very exciting stuff. I would love to sit here 12 months from now and seeing people making a meaningful impact on that side, I think.
Awesome. Then let's check back in 12 months. So just to wrap it up, I mean, I'm extremely happy to have such a talented team with you guys working on the IC and thinking about further evolving the AI infrastructure on IC. I think is the place to build your decentralized AI applications. And with that, give a very warm applause to the panelists, please.